Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Erin Medina with Erin Medina Photography based in Louisville, Kentucky. Today we're going to address one of the most frequently asked questions I get, which is what is the difference between a headshot session and a personal branding session? So if you know that you need a new headshot, but you're wondering if you should level up to a personal branding session, then this video should help you. So let's talk first about what a headshot is. So typically headshots are simply a portrait that's cropped from the head to the shoulders. Sometimes it might even extend down to mid-torso. And they are typically used simply for profiles, whether online or in print. So historically, we saw headshots typically with actors' resumes or in playbills, and then we also saw them in a lot of annual reports. So there were a lot of corporate executives who had headshots. And now that we have so many social media platforms and different membership websites, now everybody pretty much needs a headshot. It's just a matter of how many you need and where you're going to put them. On the other side of things, there's also this idea of personal branding, and associated with that is personal branding imagery. Now, personal branding photos typically offer a wider variety both in outfits and crops because the idea behind it is content creation. So personal branding images might go in a social profile, but they also might appear on a website or specific landing pages, lead magnets. So the variance between them is typically the quantity, the crops, and the purpose of them. So now that we've spoken about a few of the differences in the images that are created, let's talk about the differences in sessions. So first off, the difference would be preparation. For most headshot sessions, you're going to receive minimal guidance from the photographer. You might get a PDF of how to prepare for your headshot. That gives you a few tips on wardrobe, makeup, and how to practice expressions, right? For a personal branding session, most of the time you should be receiving a style consultation where they're going to talk about where you want to use the images, what type of wardrobe you think best suits your brand, as well as your features. And that's going to help them create the best environment to photograph you in, whether that's on location, whether that's in a studio or on a location specific to you. The next point of differentiation between a headshot session and a personal branding session is the time allotted for the specific session. So not only is there time of preparation, but there's a time specific to the session. And a headshot session could vary from 2 minutes on a corporate or office headshot day to 15 to 30 minutes in studio in a standalone headshot session. Meanwhile, a personal branding session could last from 90 minutes to 3 hours or more, depending on the package that you select with your photographer. As you might expect with a shorter session, there's going to be a limit on how much a photographer can work with you to finesse your pose to best suit your stature, and as well as working with you on the expressions. So most headshots sessions are very limited in how they're going to pose you and what expressions they're going to prompt you for. However, during a personal branding session, because there's more time, they are going to have the ability to work with you to finesse a pose so that it best suits your stature and figure. They're also going to be able to work with you on your expressions and give you some breaks in between different sets or different poses that they are working with you on. So you get a greater amount of variety with the personal branding session. You get greater amount of options to work with and then select from in the end. In addition to the finessing of poses and expression, when you have more time in a personal branding session, that's going to permit time for different wardrobe changes. Typically, at a headshot session, the most you'll be able to do is maybe, do a quick adjustment to your hair, swap out a necklace, and maybe adjust, maybe swap out a blazer. That's the most you'll be able to accomplish due to the time limit on the session. With a personal branding session, that's not the case. You'll have time for anywhere from 3 to 5 outfits and possibly more, depending on what arrangements you've made with your photographer. And along with that, that also permits you a greater variety of backdrop. You can see 2 setups in my studio right now. So you can work with your photographer to ensure that you have some color harmony, appearing in your brand images, or if you want, maybe it's high contrast that you're looking for. Everybody's brand is unique to them. And that's why a consultation for a personal branding session is so important, because you can work out those details ahead of time so that your photographer is ready to go the day of your session. The final difference worth noting between a headshot session and a personal branding session is the choice of images that you have. Typically in a headshot session, you will receive a curated gallery, but it will be a very small gallery, like max 10 images. And sometimes for a headshot session, you may not even get that input. Sometimes it's the photographer's discretion. With a personal branding session, however, typically what's going to happen is a photographer will go, they'll curate the images, they'll do some basic retouching of them, and then you will come back to view your images and pick the best of the best that's going to work with your brand and your current plans for your brand. And the photographer will be able to will work with you to even help you choose between different expressions and poses to help you identify what might give you the most flexibility for your purposes.